So here we are in the new episode of Podcast Confessions. Today with me through Zoom in Skopje, Irena Sterijovska, who is a theater director and an activist known for her role as the leader of the colorful revolution protests that took place around 6 years ago in Macedonia and that helped bring down the government of Macedonia. Irena, thank you very much for being my guest. And I would like us to begin speaking with going back to 2016. In April in that year, protests began in the Republic of Macedonia against the Prime Minister Georgi Ivanov and the government led by Prime Minister against the President Georgi Ivanov and the government which was led by the Prime Minister Emil Dimitriev from the ruling VMRO-DPMNE party, called the Colorful Revolution because the protesters were throwing colors at various governmental buildings and monuments from the Skopje 2014 project. And thousands of people were on the streets asking for accountability of politicians, fight against corruption, and asking for freedom and justice. You were one of them, not only one of them as being on the streets, but one of them as leading the protests. And now from this time distance in 2022, how do you feel about those protests? Do you feel that something should have been done differently?
Well, not in the during the time that we were protesting per se, but maybe after. We were quite well organized while protesting, but we were not organizing ourselves as a one and a very structured civic movement. We dispersed after the Paržino negotiations, and I'm very proud of Colorful Revolution because it was there was a critical time in the protest where there was a time for decision if we want a peaceful protesting with non-violent protests, and another way was very unsettling idea for violence. And me and my comrades then, we were on the idea that we should protest peacefully and we should find mechanisms that expose the regime, but we were not ready to physically fight it. And through the examples of history, we learned that, and we are still learning that violence is just producing more violence, and every civic organizing should be peaceful and should be smarter than fighting the police, because we were not ready for that. We were not. So to get back to your question, yes, we could have done things differently, but maybe more in the sense after Paržino agreement, because we didn't take the control that we could have take. So as a civil movement,
yes,
we
yes,
disperse.
Yes,
We disperse.
Yeah, and my question is also now when you go back to the sense of how many people were on the streets and how probably frightened politicians felt because they had to be accountable for what they do you think that a kind of a legacy of these protests today is creating a culture of civic activism that makes politicians who are in power today aware of their responsibility and aware of what happens if they do not show the responsibility towards the people?
Yes, in some sense, yes, for sure. Colorful Revolution will be an example that with the proper civic organization that you can do maybe miracles, because at the time that we started protesting, there was a very little chance that we do this without violence, and all the pieces of the puzzle were completed to change the regime without any loss of life, because it was tough. It was tough 1 year after the elections, with the storm of the Sobranie, the MP's representative hurt and everything. It was dangerous time here. But now I think the climate in the politicians' head and in the civil movement, not in the sense of non-government organizations that are fighting for a cause, but personally, individually. Every citizen now, I think, knows that with a proper organization, with proper community sense and organization, you can maybe you can push to change some things in our benefits.
Mm-hmm. And now, even in that time, and today even more, European Union and its relationship towards today North Macedonia has been a hot topic. Today the Republic of North Macedonia has been through a lot of reforms, a lot of changes, including the name of the state. The leader of a part of these processes was Zoran Zaev, who was until recent the Prime Minister of North Macedonia, but resigned due to the fact that no actual progress towards membership was made. Now, what we know that happened in November 2020 was that Bulgaria effectively blocked the official start of negotiations of North Macedonia towards the accession of EU. Now, what really kind of is a fear of, I think, all the countries in the region on this path is to become the second Macedonia or North Macedonia, because so much energy and so many, so many commitments were made, so many progress was made, and yet nothing happened. So what is your attitude towards the membership now, and what do you think is the general attitude of the society? Do people feel betrayed by the EU?
Well, of course, it comes without saying, but the degree of disappointment is varies through the different groups of people. So I'm one of those who think Western ideologies are always the best path, but the bureaucracy in the EU and the way they promise and they agree unanimously on various matters. I think it's counterproductive because I think it's rapidly falling, the popularity, and it's not dangerous. That's dangerous, but it's not dangerous because we would take time to join the EU. It's dangerous because the alternative ideology is very, very, very dangerous. So, and we know that disappointment from not getting from point A to point B, a one way can lead you on whole another way. And I think that is the, because I think we can manage. I'm not in the government, so I don't know, but I think we can manage in this bubble of waiting. But the people, the ideology we are nurturing here, it changes. We tend to go to more liberal ideologies and more Western-oriented ideologies, but if the promises from there are not kept, I think we have very dangerous alternative.
What would this alternative be? I know when we speak, for example, of Bosnia and Herzegovina, where I live, or of Serbia, obviously, we are speaking of a fear of a very strong Russian influence that does.
Yes, of course. Well, Russian influence is a danger in all the region. It's not just in Bosnia. It's in Bulgaria, even if they're in EU. So yes, we here in Macedonia we never felt it as a mainstream ideology, because all of the mainstream parties, they were pro-West, pro-EU, pro-NATO oriented, and but now after this failing of doing their part of the deal, I think there are political entities that are using this weakness in the psychology of the citizens, the people, that they dangerously are driving on the line from Western ideology and Russianization of it's spreading like cancer, because on every point Russia and the West have different opinions, and it's dangerous because I feel that it's spreading here.
Mm-hmm. And do you feel like this lack of reciprocity in commitment by the EU will result in recover and return of the regime you were protesting against 6 years ago?
Well, yes, if you track the line Russia, Viktor Orban, Gruevski, you can really sense the connection there. And if you ask me personally, I am afraid of that. I am afraid, and it's more than legit fear. So I think we went for 1-2 years, maybe me personally, searching for someone to blame. I think everyone is to blame. I think we are to blame that we didn't organize when we had the momentum. I think that our government now is to blame because it's not doing well with the organization of day-to-day stuff. Not the ideology per se, but day-to-day stuff, yes. And I think EU is to blame because they didn't come through on their promise.
Mm-hmm. And to go back to the protests and the idea of civic activism in general and how it can contribute to not only people expressing how they feel about what's currently going on in the society and in the political sphere, what would you say? Does this kind of freedom exist in North Macedonia today? How much freedom is there in your work, culture, art, and any other areas to be critical towards politics and the problems of society?
That is my personal pride and joy for as a result for a colorful revolution, because maybe we don't organize day-to-day work now, but we are free to talk about everything we want, and we are not afraid of the consequences. And I think it's a two-way conclusion about that. It's a something that the civic society and the individual citizens get. They understood that freedom, you cannot ask for freedom, you take your freedom. So that's that. And the government, because it was they were most of them, they were with us on the street. I think they have a sense of what is a free thought, and I think they by now they didn't screw up on that field. So really, that is maybe the highest point of and the highest legacy of the colorful revolution, that we made space for free speech, for freedom of speech, and for freedom of opinion, and we on some way we beat the fear of telling what you think and being entitled to your opinion. So
Yes, and this value of having the freedom is oftenly taken for granted, and in a lot of societies, people are not aware how important it is to have it until they lose it and
They lose
realize.
it, yes.
And
Yes.
when it comes to this kind of feeling, that freedom is something you have, but also is something that someone fought for. What do you think, like, is the perception of civic activism of younger generations, of teenagers, young adults? Do they feel like it's something that might be a useful tool, or are they not even able to identify with activism in your
Well,
country?
I think the fast traffic of information does its work, and I think the younger generations are more ready than us to have their fight. But it's not always it doesn't depend always on the citizens, on the it has its own momentum, and you should, as a citizen, you should sense that momentum, and maybe try to use it in the benefit of the civic society, of the benefit of individual rights and human rights in this region. Of course, it's always a hot topic, human rights. So I think younger generations will be smarter than us. I hope. I really hope so. So because they are not starting from zero. We were starting from zero. We didn't know what civic protest was. We didn't know if the police had offensive or defensive position, and we were not ready for that. We used social media as a platform that we can communicate and spread our ideas, but they are born into this. So I think they will utilize it better than us.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. They do have a good starting point. It's up to them, of course, to use it. And once again, speaking in the context of the region, we can, I think, for sure agree that nationalism is one of the strongest, perhaps even the strongest problem in the region. However, when we speak about these issues on a regional level, North Macedonia kind of seems to stay invisible in the conversation of this problem, given in relation that the political leaders in Bosnia and Herzegovina and Serbia again dominate this area, even Croatia lately.
Yeah.
And would you say that nationalism is a significant problem in your country today?
Well, of course, but it's not in the way that is in Serbia, let's say, because we have representatives in the government who are from ethnical minorities, and we had a conflict in 2001. So I think everything we are doing now is to prevent something happening to us similar or the same as 2001. And of course, there are groups of people that still shout "Mrtov Shiptar, Dobar Shiptar," which it translates "good Albanian is the dead Albanian." But I think they are marginalized. I don't think there are few. I think there are many. But in the sense of public space, in the sense of something you can say in mainstream television or media, I think we are quite doing okay there. I think if somebody is spreading nationalism, it's very marginalized, and it's not supported by mainstream media. Of course, I mean, there are, I don't know, 15 years I haven't heard the word Shiptar, let's say, in mainstream media, which is okay, because I look at Serbian televisions, and you have that expression all over the news and the debate forums and everything. So in a sense, yes, we have a problem with that, but I think that institutions and mainstream media and editors and media houses and everything, I think they are aware that hate speech or something that will hidden the tension between Macedonians and Albanians, because that is our ethnic issue. I think they are aware that that is a dangerous game, and few of the politicians play that game. Even though VMRO, the previous regime, the Gruevski had played that card as some kind of boogeyman in the Macedonia people and in the Albanian people. So they were like divided governments: Albanian government with the DUI party, and Macedonian government with the. I don't sense that now. That I have not that feeling now.
Yes, that's a good point that you made. In general, when this not only nationalism but also populism and hatred becomes a part of the institutional work and the institutional frames, then it's very hard for any society to kind of reject it, because the institutions are kind of the places which belong to us, but where we belong as well.
If they justify it, it's gonna be easy for you to justify it as an individual, as a citizen. So
also, what I would like to know is, since the war in Ukraine began, since the Russian aggression on Ukraine began, a lot of topics were kind of brought on whether there is a possibility of it kind of spreading to the Western Balkans in a sense of reviving the ideologies and the nationalism which had created so many victims and suffering in the 90s here. Is it something that young people of all generations speak about in North Macedonia?
Well, yes, of course, everybody speaks about that, and that is. It's really scary, but if you ask me personally, it's comforting that everybody is afraid, because that shows me that we don't want that influence here, and practically we are divided as a country on all kinds of topics, and this is one of the topics that we are divided. I cannot say that most of Macedonians think that Putin's aggression on Ukraine is a bad thing. We are quite 50-50 divided on that, but even if some group of people wants to justify Putin, I think that deep down inside they're afraid of it, the possible influence and the possible effects that can be put on us with the spreading of the Russian influence all over this region.
Yes, definitely. Like I read it somewhere on social media, the best proof of how really supportive people are of Putin, that those who are pro-Russian and who do support them don't send their kids to school to universities in Russia. They send their kids to West, but they're very supportive.
Yes, of course.
Yeah. So what I would also like to ask you, and kind of to go back to what you do, as I've said at the beginning, you're a theater director, and the question is always how big of a responsibility in art and culture is this rebellion against social problems, this rebellion against, discrimination of human rights or any other problems in the society. It's not only like a part of your job that you can kind of be creative and do. Do you feel that it's a responsibility?
If you have that profound sense of righteousness and everything, if you see the mistakes in the system, it's kind of I don't have a choice. I always implement in my stories some kind of social engaging comment, or right now I'm doing 12 Angry Men as a stage play. And yes, and it's about it's quite localized. It's a story about the region, and it's about individual sense of commitment to the system. Not about expecting results, but being aware that you are part of the system and you have your responsibilities for it to work. So I have a premiere in 6 days. So hope I will change one more people's mind, and that's what I do. Really, that's why I do theater, because I have ideas how we can profoundly change ourselves, not in the sense of we can change our institutions, but through ourselves we can change the institutions. So that's where my target is.
Okay, so first of all, that sounds amazing, and I wish you, of course, congratulations, and I wish you a good premiere with, as you said, managing to kind of to spread the message that you want to the people who will be in the audience, which kind of opens the part that you've said. I hope to change the mind of one more person. I would like to kind of to use it to conclude our talk. In a sense of that's something that I see as a problem, for example, in my society. If people gather for one protest, and if everything doesn't change after that one day, they're like, oh, you know, you can't do anything here, let's give up. And how important patience is in activism. Maybe we could use that.
We really imagined the change in some kind of movie terms. We imagined it with some kind of hymnical music and a moment where everything is changing.
And the sun goes out.
Yes. It's not. It's always a slow and very, very painful process. And even if you are aware of it, it's not process you can feel. It's process when you maybe see the benefits in the next generation. So I thought after fall of the regime that everything will be different, but it's not. It's very, very slow and very, very heavy mechanism to change, and you can have all good decisions in the world. The history will take its own toll, and in this region we don't know, we haven't still figured out how we can change things fast, because we are too slow on that side. So I think in Macedonia, from this perspective, from the time perspective, I think we are on a better way, but I think we have a lot of work to do.
And I'll really end this time, but just one more question is, do you feel like, in the whole region, once again, the problem is a lot of people leaving their countries, going to the countries of EU, going to West, and I always felt like if you decide to stay, then once again your responsibility is to try and create a better society.
Of course. I was one of those people that never wanted to go. Not that I'm very satisfied with my country and my status and everything, but I really think working in your own country and trying to contribute in your own country has maybe not that financial benefit, but it really makes me feel good.
Thank you. I enjoyed it as well, and thank you for sharing these personal experiences and giving, of course, an insight on what the state of society in North Macedonia is today. So thank you, Irena.
Thank you. See you. Bye-bye.
See you. So this was Irena Sterijovska from Skopje by Zoom, speaking to us in this episode of Podcast Confessions. I hope you enjoyed the conversation as much as I did, having Irena as somebody I get to talk to. And of course, I hope you got to learn a bit about how patience is important in activism and how important it is to be aware of the freedoms that we have. Thank you.